I just want to show our viewers some data, because, we're talking about a possible suicide flight by, suicide by pilots of an airliner here. But I want to show you that even in the last few years, such incidents are not uncommon. We've actually seen them in our lifetimes a number of times. So let me just show you at least 4 or 5 prominent examples of air accidents that have been deemed to be suicide by pilot, where pilots have deliberately decided to crash the aircraft. December 1997, the Indonesia Silk Air Flight 185. One theory says that the pilot deliberately crashed this plane. 44 people were killed. October 1999, Egypt Air Flight 990. The first officer deliberately crashed this aircraft into the Atlantic, killing 217 people. November 2013, LAM Mozambique Flight 470. Again, the pilot was proved to have intentionally crashed the aircraft into the ground. 33 people were killed in that accident. March 2014, the most famous case in our lifetime, Malaysian MH370. It disappeared over the Indian Ocean. The lead theory right now continues to be that the pilot was on a suicide mission. 239 people were killed, making it the most deadly case so far. March 2015, German Wings Flight 9525, a depressed, suicidal tendencies co-pilot locked his boss, the main pilot, out of the aircraft cockpit, and then he dived that aircraft into a mountainside in Germany, killing 150 people. So I've taken just 5 examples, of instances where there have been suicide by pilot. It's something that has been documented. But Dr. Raheja, this opens very troubling questions and very troubling avenues, doesn't it, sir, for this investigation? It goes beyond just the technical aspects of aircraft failure, mechanical failure, and it goes into the human mind. What do you think of this, sir?
So I totally agree with you, and just picking up some of the cues from what you said, yes. I do agree and strongly ratify that pilots are extremely proficient professionals. It's a very noble profession. They go through extremely rigorous training. But at the end of it, we must understand that they are human beings too.
Yes.
And if a certain percentage of human being is going to be vulnerable into developing a depressive episode, it could also be doctors, it could also be pilots, it could be any professional. It brings, without again trying to spread any morbid fear,
yes.
but it just should wake us up to understand that anyone in that position of authority should automatically go through rigorous checks, and they have to be right balances, because so far we've focused all the efforts into trying to make our machines more smarter, more artificial intelligence driven, and the way Captain Debolina was describing and you were also describing, in ensuring that if there was a failure or if somebody overpowered, none other than the pilot would have the know-how how to override the mechanisms of inbuilt safety. But what really happens if at the end of it, the pilot is depressed? I mean, he's a human being. He could be going through lots too.
Yes.
Even though this may be one-off, there have been very few examples that you've been able to quote from the history of aviation, which is hundreds of year old. But this one-off example has a price of life to pay, which is humongous. Many people die and lose their lives. So I think in the coming times, as we are waking up more and becoming more sensitive to the mental health needs of the society at large, I think anyone in that position of responsibility where your actions could directly control the lives of many people who are dependent on you at that point would need more sensitive and more rigorous and more astute and more careful observation, identification, diagnosis, and appropriate treatment. So again, it boils down also to the stigma, because mental health is so looked upon with this stigma, and we don't really look upon people who have an emotional turbulence very well. So I think we'll have to give the society, professionals, people, workers, the leverage to be able to say that they don't feel well, and either they need help or they need time out, and that time out should be provided.
And there's
so I
a
think
reason.
The whole responsibility and the onus on society at large increases to wake up to the sensitivity of mental health issues and
I
the
completely
morbidity
agree
and
with
the
you, Dr.
suffering.
Raheja. I completely agree with you that there has to be some kind of avenue where, if pilots are disturbed, they choose not to fly. There's also a reason why, such cases are called murder-suicide, not just suicide, because as both of our guests have rightly pointed out, it's not just their own lives that they are, apparently ending, but the lives of passengers who are in their care, passengers who have trusted them to deliver them safely from one place to another.